Hey guys, so today we have David Kuntz and Kim Botbyl from SoCal Burn Ride, and we have the honor of speaking with them today. David and Kim, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to come speak with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and you two can alternate answering, or you can chime in whenever you want, however you like.
Okay, great.
Okay, cool. So, can you tell us about SoCal Burn Ride? What is it, and what is both of your involvement in it?
Yeah. So the SoCal Burn Ride is a charity motorcycle ride to raise money to benefit burn survivors in Southern California or Greater California. It started in 2014. I'm one of the co-founders. The other co-founder is Trevor Holtan. And Trevor Holtan is a burn survivor himself. And so that's our purpose. We raise money for programs that provide services for burn survivors, be it direct patient care, recovery programs, or burn prevention education.
Very cool. Very cool. And Kim, what do you do for SoCal Burn Ride?
So I met David in 2016. He was sharing with me that he was part of this organization, and once I realized what they do and the services they provided, it was really a beautiful cause, and it was a really great event. I just felt like, why doesn't more people know about this? And I just want to share it with the world. So I was able to come in and do some marketing, help them with like social media and reaching out to other people. I mean, in the beginning, it was really David and Trevor really going to a lot of the biker events and really trying to pass out flyers and get people to know about the event. So having another person on a bike able to go put posters up and hand out flyers and find out more places online, more forums where we could post it and just kind of spread the word. So really just outreach and marketing and helping that way. There was a little bit of when I started riding and had my own bike, I was like, let's do a beginner's route and let's do a route, different routes. And then if people want to take more twisties, they can do this. And if they want more beach, they can do the PCH longer. And so then we started like expanding into other different things. So then there was more roles to fill. But in the beginning, it was just marketing, and now it's wherever there's a need.
There are many hats.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You guys make a great team. Okay, so how did you two get into motorcycling, and how did that grow into starting a charity ride?
Yeah. So I've wanted a motorcycle ever since I was a kid. I always knew I was going to own a motorcycle. Some of my most most memorable or favorite movie scenes from when I was a kid were in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the motorcycle chase scene,
Classic, yeah.
and also The Great Escape. Those were two movies that I watched a lot as a kid. And the scene with Steve McQueen when he's running from the Germans and trying to jump the fence. Just I don't think you can watch those two movies as a kid and not want a motorcycle someday. So it worked on me. I always knew from the time I was a kid, hey, one day I'm gonna have a motorcycle. And so years down the line, I joined the Marine Corps, and I was on my first deployment in 2009, going into 2010. For those of you fellow Marines out there, you've probably heard of the 31st MEU. That was my first deployment. And near the end of that deployment, I found out that immediately upon returning stateside, I was gonna go over to another unit in order to deploy to Afghanistan. So I looked at the prospective combat pay and everything I was gonna get, and I ran some numbers. I went, you know what? I think this is it. I'm gonna have enough money to either buy a bike or put a hell of a down payment on one. So I went to the Exchange New Car Sales through the Marine Corps. They also sell Harley-Davidsons, and looked through what they had to offer and placed an order for a 2011 Harley-Davidson FXC WC Rocker C. And I mean, I saw it in the catalog of the options for me. And I mean, immediately when I saw it, I was like, all right, draw a line on a sheet of paper. I will sign it. And then you can put whatever number you want. I saw that bike. I was like, absolutely gorgeous. I have to have it. So I placed the order in for the bike. We pushed the delivery date for the bike until my anticipated return from my second deployment. And so when I returned stateside from Afghanistan, I went to Palm Springs, Harley-Davidson, picked up my Scarlet Red Deluxe Rocker C, and fell in love immediately and started riding it. Took the beginner's riders course. Spent a few months riding around the desert between 29 Palms and Palm Springs and Palm Desert, learning the roads out there, 10 and the 62. And then I transitioned into I finished my active service. I transitioned into the civilian side, and obviously took my bike with me, moved to Los Angeles. And another thing that any fellow Marines out there may know, or maybe be familiar with, is the transition from active duty into the civilian world isn't always an easy one. I definitely had my fair share of adjustments that I had to make. It's culture shock. You're stepping into a completely different world than you're used to. And so that was somewhat the case for myself. And during that transition period, sometimes, my bike was what I had in order to help me through that. When I was stressed out, trying to figure out how I was going to navigate this new life, I could go for a ride, and I could always go for a ride. She was always there for me. And I could either go for a ride in order to take my mind off some things, or I could go for a ride in order to focus on what I needed to focus on, let most of the world go away, focus on what I needed to work through as far as like just figuring out how I was going to navigate civilian life. And during that time, it just became very apparent to me how important and how, I would say, essential being able to go out and just go for a ride was for me. And I know that that's very much so the case for very many other people. And you know what they say, you don't ever see a motorcycle outside a therapist's office. And so that definitely, that saying, my story is definitely reinforces that saying. So that's how I came to fall in love with riding.
Well, it sounds like it. I mean, I feel I completely agree with you. I love the whole throttle therapy thing. Like it's the best therapy in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. And Kim, what about you?
I really didn't know anything about motorcycles. I wasn't really exposed to it. I'm from New Jersey. I didn't see a lot of people riding out there. And then when I came out here and I met Dave in 2016, and he really let me ride with him. And I was like, having a safe person that gets you comfortable with it and like has all the things that you need to know and
The right way.
yeah, teaches you the right way. Then it kind of eases you into it a little bit, and it makes you think like this is fun. I enjoy this.
Well, right.
And the more events we started going to, I actually started seeing more women. And I'll be honest, I didn't even think of it. Like the thought hadn't occurred to me. I was like, oh, women can ride too. And so like I just hadn't thought of it. So then once I started seeing other women ride, I was like, I want to try. And I'll be honest, I failed twice. I failed the motorcycle safety test twice. And I really want to make sure everybody knows out there, like, do not think when people are like, oh, it's not, riding isn't for everybody, like don't take that. Like if it's something that you want to do, keep going, keep trying. As soon as I finally passed it, immediately I'd ride with a group of people and they're like, you're great. You're better than half the guys I've been riding with for years. And it just took me longer, so it's,
I mean, it feels that much better when you achieve it, right? Because each, I guess, quote unquote, failure is it's a lesson to be learned, right? And it's, now that you've achieved it, it's like, it feels so much better, I feel like.
yep.
And the number one
in her defense, some of the things she was telling me
The trainers
about
were terrible.
what she was being taught how things were being described to her for clutch control and things of that matter. They raised my eyebrows a little bit. I'm not a certified trainer, but
right.
I've had my fair share of training people on things in the past, and that's not
bad advice.
That's not how I would have gone about
training.
explaining that. So
Yeah.
The MSF course has come a long way for sure. And there are other courses now that are available. So
Yeah.
And where do these SoCal Burn rides take place? I know you kind of mentioned a few places earlier, but predominantly where do they start? And
yeah, right. Okay. So SoCal Burn Ride. So it takes place in Southern California. And a ride in Southern California wouldn't really be a ride, I don't think, without some coastline. So we, we err towards in making sure that we've got a healthy stint on Pacific Coast Highway. And obviously you've got the Santa Monica Mountains nearby, and that offers some great, that offers great roads. You have a variety of roads for people who are advanced riders, or there could be, there could be roads through there that are for more, beginner riders. So we keep it in that area just because it provides an opportunity. It provides a lot of options for the full range of riders that might want to come out to the burn ride. I mean, hey, a lot of people think that rides are like, oh, it's only Harleys, but all bikes are welcome at the SoCal burn ride, and all experience levels. So we're
not a pack the whole time. You can take your own pace.
Right.
We don't like that. And that causes too many problems. So you take it at your own pace, take which road you like best. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, so we keep it more in the Santa Monica Mountains, and make sure that we get you out to the PCH. You get to enjoy a ride along the coast. And, I think, I mean,
the first few years, I mean, they started like in Calabasas, and then they went through the mountains, went up the PCH, and sort of ended, first few years ended in Calabasas.
We ended back
and
in
then
Calabasas again.
we united with Russell from Exile Cycles one year,
Russ
and
Mitchell.
ended Russ Mitchell, and we ended at Paramount Ranch. That was a fun year. We did, I think, that 2 years.
A couple of years we ended at Paramount Ranch before the unfortunate events there in the wildfires.
And then we started to integrate the disabled American veterans. And so we ended there at the DAV.
Yeah, a couple of years we ended at DAV 7 Disabled American Veterans in 73 in Canoga Park. And that was a cool opportunity because it allowed us to ensure that some of the expenses that we make for the ride, i.e. the venue expenses, that was going back into another program that helps the community, that helps disabled veterans. So it was just, one more area where we were able to support a community through putting the ride on.
Very, very cool. Yep, I would say PCH and the One is like probably one of the most gorgeous rides I've ever been on. I also travel the world and ride everywhere, and anybody who comes to SoCal or California needs to experience that. Like just going through Big Sur, even like all the way up north, it's just amazing. And we have the best weather for riding.
We had routes going through the Snake for years, but that's been closed for a while, and we don't know when that's going to be back again. But there's plenty of other great roads in the Santa Monica Mountains. And, I don't know, I love it. I think it kind of like for me, it's a little bit nostalgic. Like I'm a migrant to California, or an import. Import. I wasn't born in California. I was imported here.
Oh my
God. So it's like this area, I think it kind of captures that nostalgic California dreaming vibe, riding through that area. So I think that it really captures riding experience in Southern California there. So we really love doing it through that area.
Very, very cool. So it sounds like you guys ride a lot. Have either of you ever been in a motorcycle accident?
I have, and I will say that the first thing that I learned, the mistake that I made, absolutely, if it ever happens again, the first thing I will do is call Russ Brown, because I did not the first time, and I regret it. They wouldn't take my case, and I was kind of left to handle it on my own, figure it out on your own. And no one wants to feel like,
you're already in an accident, right?
Yeah, like you don't have that support, like you don't know what to do, and no one's guiding you through the process, and you feel kind of lost. So hearing Dave's experience, it's completely black and white, and it's like, wow, it's unbelievable how important it is to have someone like Russ Brown who's in your corner, on your side. So my experience, terrible. Your experience?
I've been in 5 accidents, and the last one was probably the most severe. It happened on St. Patrick's Day of all days, 2022.
When I got that phone call, I was like, was she drunk? Was she drunk? She was drinking. It was
Oh,
like, no,
no,
she wasn't
no,
drunk.
no, it
just
wasn't.
happened to
No,
be
it's-
St. Patrick's
As a
Day.
matter,
Yeah,
I was on my way to work. I was working as an EMT at the time, and I was on my way to work. Perfect riding conditions. Perfect. You probably couldn't have asked for better riding conditions, and like clear sky, no precipitation, visibility as far as as far as you could see, straight away. And there were no other cars next to me, no oncoming traffic, nothing like that. I was headed down a straightaway and like just a straight stretch of road. And a lady didn't look, and she turned left out of a gas station. And man, I
Just
almost
clipped it.
almost got around her. I just clipped her. I clipped her rear bumper and went down, stood up, and I felt like it kind of felt a little bit like I was standing on a bag of bolts,
Mhm.
and I in my left foot, and then I turned around and saw her. She started kind of driving away. And I was like, oh, like my adrenaline was up. And I was like,
Right,
we're
right.
gonna have to
Take
chase
you
this
down.
woman.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to chase this car and
I noticed that
in order
she,
to get their information. So so that happened, and yeah, I learned this is something I would say. Immediately after an accident is not the time to start thinking about what you should do when there's been an accident. You need to be prepared and have some things in order beforehand. So like I would suggest to anybody, have a checklist on you of all the information you're gonna need from the other driver or drivers involved, and
Right.
anything from and space to get contact information for witnesses. God forbid you're not incapacitated and you're able to do all this.
Mhm.
2, have uninsured and underinsured motorist insurance on your on your policy. 3, have uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage on your insurance policy. And 4, make sure you have somebody that you know is going to be in your corner to help guide you through this whole process, because it's going to get complicated.
Mhm.
For me, that's Russ Brown. I like I said, I was in several other accidents. This last accident, I called Russ Brown, and Shelby West was assigned to my case. It was absolutely phenomenal. I how do I put, like, I probably could have figured out. I like to think that I probably could have figured out what I needed to figure out in order to navigate through all these processes. But who has the time to do that if you have a life?
And you
And-
deployed.
Yeah, and okay, well, also I got okay, so I'm a reservist and I got activated. So I mean, I was out of fixing.
Done it.
No, 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 no.
Going on,
So
right.
like, yeah, I mean, if I didn't have a job, if I had no other life except how to figure out how to navigate through this,
accident.
No
through
one
this
has.
stuff, yeah, probably. I think I probably could, but Shelby and Russ Brown were absolutely phenomenal, and like even dealing with the other party's insurance, even dealing with your own insurance, it gets confusing. It gets stressful. Say you're injured and you're dealing with recovery from an injury. You got to go to doctor's appointments. You're doing all that on top of it. When are you going to find the time to make sure all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, and ensuring that all of your best interests are being looked at? Everyone's going to look out for themselves after an accident. Obviously you want to, that intent is there, but do you have the capability to do
You
it?
don't know what to do,
Probably
yeah.
not. I definitely would not have been able to do it without Russ Brown, without Shelby.
Right.
So yeah. So
That's
have a
really
plan
sweet.
beforehand, and then make sure that part of that plan is having Russ Brown's
Russ
number in your
Brown.
phone.
That, right on speed dial.
As soon as you're able to, you're able to make that phone call,
Hmm.
make that phone call and start the process with them as soon as possible.
Right. Yeah. All of that you mentioned, like I would just write that, in my notes in my phone, because like you said, after an accident, your adrenaline's up, like there's a lot going through your head, and it's easy to miss a lot of things. So
Right. Yeah.
those are very important details. So
You're
thank
not
you.
going to remember those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since we were talking about safety and accidents, David, I heard that you previously mentioned that you were a Marine Corps. So thank you for your service.
Yep. Yeah.
And that you were assigned a motorcycle safety officer of your unit. Can you tell us like a memorable moment during that time?
Okay, so I guess the memorable moment really is founding the SoCal Burn Ride.
That it was
So,
the
yeah.
impetus
So,
for this, yeah.
so there's a motorcycle safety program in the Marine Corps, active duty and reserve side. I am a reservist. And like you said, I was tasked as the motorcycle safety officer for my unit. And on the active duty side, there's a requirement for the safety programs for each unit to have periodic rides with all the motorcycle riders in the unit. And I was exploring the responsibilities as far as that might be concerned for the reserve side, because it's obviously going to be different. And that coincidentally occurred, that my tasking as the safety officer coincidentally happened at a time when I had just been thinking that I wanted to get more involved with my community, maybe find some sort of organization where I could do like a community service programs or something of the like. And so when I was describing to a close friend of mine that I was exploring what my responsibilities might be as far as having rides in my role as the motorcycle safety officer, I brought up, hey, maybe, this is an opportunity for me to do, maybe I could do like a charity ride. And that kind of scratched that itch that I had to become more involved in my community. And she's, when I told her that, she said, hey, I have a friend he's a burn surgeon, and he went to Afghanistan in 2009. Dr. Peter Grossman, he went to Afghanistan in 2009 when he was doing some work for the Grossman Burn Foundation. And she said while he was there, he opened his services to the armed forces, and he told the armed forces, if any of the troops here should happen to be burned in any kind of incident, he would offer his services in order to make sure that those service members got correct treatment immediately during his time when he was in Afghanistan. So when I heard that, I thought, hey, I know a lot of my fellow service members, a lot of the other Marines that I was serving with on the reserve side are either firefighters or other first responders. And I also know that my friend also told me that at the Grossman Burn Center here in LA, that many of the firefighters and first responders get treated there at the Grossman Burn Center. So making those connections, I thought, well, hey, this desire that works perfect, this desire to do a charity ride, maybe I could do a charity ride to benefit a burn foundation that has helped fellow men and women in uniform. And I asked if I could be put in touch with the Burn Foundation in order to start talking about doing a charity ride. That connection was made. And I got to meet with the foundation. And unbeknownst to me at the same time, Trevor, who I mentioned earlier, is a burn survivor. He was a patient at the Grossman Burn Center in 1990 after an accident that he had. And he had approached the foundation, with an idea. He's an avid motorcycle rider. He's been riding motorcycles his whole life. He approached them with the idea of doing a charity motorcycle ride to help burn survivors. And so, and like complete coincidence, we both happened to approach foundation at the same time. And some of the people that worked at the Burn Center also worked with another foundation called Firefighters Quest for Burn Survivors. So Grossman Burn Foundation, Firefighters Quest for Burn Survivors brought us all together in a room, and we started planning the first SoCal Burn Ride in 2014. A few months later, we were able to put it on, and we've been doing it ever since. A few little interruptions in there. We had a couple-year interruption. Kim mentioned earlier that I got deployed. So 2021, 2022, we weren't able to put it on because I was overseas. But other than that, yeah, since 2000.
So it started in 2014, but this year will be SoCal Burn Ride number 9.
Number 9. I was just going to ask, how many events have you guys had?
Yep.
So 9. That's amazing. Very cool. What are some ways that people can support your cause? you know, obviously aside from like joining the rides and
So the biggest thing that the motorcycle riding community the biggest takeaway is that road rash is treated the same way that a burn is. So anybody that goes down, anybody who has the unfortunate experience of road rash knows the skin grafts, the follow-up surgeries, the support groups, it just keeps going, like the bills and the bandages, the wounds, the aftercare.
Right.
Everything is exactly the excruciating pain.
Right.
There's so much involved with road rash and burn injuries that are sort of related and sort of parallel each other. So that's the first thing, just to let the community know that whether or not you know a burn survivor specifically, it's very relevant to the community because it's treated the same way. The other thing to know is that, like we just said, all of those things are god awful for an adult. Can you imagine being a child? And so I think it was 34% of burn injuries are happen to people under the age of 19.
Yeah.
So it's really, it affects a lot of children. And so one of the big things for SoCal Burn Ride has been making the proceeds go to a children oriented event. So the first program was called Burn Camp, right? And this year we're actually going to be partnering, and I'll let Dave talk about it a little bit more, but it's called Champ Camp. And so it's for younger people and their families. And this one is going to serve over 150 children. And so it just kind of expands because, there's also the psychological feeling of the family. It's also, they're dealing with this person that has to deal with it. So it's related. And so everybody gets to come to the camp and sort of benefit from it. But
well, another very important point is, and people might think that once you leave the hospital, once you leave the burn floor, you're good to go, you're healed. And that's not the case. Most burn injuries require aftercare for years, many, many times for the rest of your life. And that may be follow-on procedures. Because of the scar tissue it's not the same as regular skin. So, injuries that happen to children who still have years and years of growth, depending on the severity of the burn, the thickness, how much area it's covered. This is just one example. Some patients need to go back in, and the skin actually needs to be opened up in order to provide space for the skin to grow as their body grows. And so this is something that many, many people deal with for the rest of their lives. And those follow-on procedures are not just physically painful. Dealing with chronic pain has a mental and emotional cost to it. Also, there's disability involved. There's occupational therapy that needs to take place afterwards as well. The programs that we like to give to, such as as Burn Camp before, and now Champ Camp, we're now at Champ Camp, which is an event, which is a program that's put on by the Elisa Ann Roosh Burn Foundation, is directed at children. It also allows many people, burn survivors, to go to an environment where there are other burn survivors, and they can share their experiences with one another and know that they're not in this alone. There is a network of survivors for them to turn to. That part of these camps are group therapy sessions and things of that nature. And they can share with others the challenges they're going through. And then you can have veteran burn survivors many, many times go back as well, so that they can serve as that person. They can help those people who are recent burn survivors and explain, these are techniques that I use for how to get through things. Or, maybe it's just some things, it's just, look, it's going to be difficult, but I'm here for you. And you could talk to me, you could call me whenever you want, or if you need, in order to have just an ear to listen to, a shoulder to cry on, or if you need more practical advice, things of that nature. One example, and I'm at risk of getting long-winded here, but one example that I've seen is very touching to me, because we've attended Burn Camp as guests before, just to see, how the programs go. Is, one of the discussions that really struck me was when one burn survivor got up and started telling other burn survivors how they interact with people who they can tell are maybe looking at them or staring at them in public because they now have this visible scar that most humans, many people, they don't even know that they're doing it. It's not intentional, it's not malicious, but you know, being somebody, say you're a young child, knowing,
Right.
you know, you're not even emotionally mature yet. You haven't even gone through like the challenges of life where most people have learned how to deal with adversity. This is being heaped upon you as a small child, and you have to grow up real fast and learn how to deal with the emotional toll of that at a very young age, much younger than anybody really should have to. And these programs are there. They help the programs that we give to focus at children. They help them to learn how to deal with that and cope with it. And then later on, when they're older, help others.
Definitely, if anybody's interested in being a vendor, hopefully Born Free will be there. We're definitely going to be in the same area. The routes will be similar, but we'll change things up a little bit. We really want to make this a big comeback year for us. Obviously, like Dave said, the past 2 years, we haven't had it because he was deployed. He wasn't in the country, so we couldn't have a ride. But we want to make sure that people know we're still here. We're still doing it. And it's going to be bigger and better this year. And we're so excited for it. And we're excited to be a part of sending our proceeds to Champ Camp. It's one of the longest running and one of the biggest camps for burn survivors, for children. So we're really excited to be a part of that and really grateful for all the support. And we hope that people come out and support us in any way that they can and hopefully support the foundation.
All right, guys. So this question is really for those who are looking into just kind of starting their own charity ride. So what's the process of starting something like this, like filing the proper paperwork, tax forms, permits, etc.? We just need like enough information for somebody to legally get started.
So we get this question a lot because it's often the other way around. Usually it's a foundation or an event or some type of organization putting on the ride, whereas this is two individuals approaching the foundation. So, and then they were trying to figure it out as they went. So there is a little bit of the reason why it's good to have an organization or foundation or a financial backer that has a little bit more connections with the legality, so that when you have the waivers that people need to sign, that there's a little bit more of a checkpoint of making sure that all the legal jargon is in there and that everything is covered. So there is a portion of that it is sort of necessary to partner with an organization that's done something similar or has those resources in place.
You also want to be sure, like, so we do a poker run. And you want to make sure that, like, with I can't give you like the state form like identifier exactly, but you are gonna need to file paperwork with the state to make sure that you do have
It's
a
called a
permit.
gambling permit.
Yeah,
Like it's
like-
just called, I mean, it's a Texas hold, I mean, it's a poker run, but because we have a raffle and because it's called a poker run, you do have to have that insurance and that wording and fill out that form and all that paperwork. It's got to be in place. When we did during the pandemic, we did a virtual ride, at Ride Wherever You Are, and then you could donate a certain way and you'd still be a part of the raffle. We randomly picked cards so that each number that you picked related to a different card. So we were still doing it, and it was all done on Eventbrite. And Eventbrite, like their keywords, they noticed that we were using raffle and Texas Hold'em, and they just deleted it. They just deleted the event.
Yeah, that
They didn't
was-
tell us anything. People were like
man.
texting me, like, they just took it down, and we didn't even know.
It was
They didn't ask us
That
anything.
sounds stressful.
It
they
was
didn't
awful.
nothing. It
Yeah.
was just they just took it down.
Yep,
The
and just
event
refunded
just
everybody's
disappeared.
money.
Sent
Yep.
everybody their money back, and then we started getting communications from friends saying, hey, everything I donated, everything just
came
got
back.
refunded to me. Another, like, something to be aware of, and you might not think about this, is like technically raffles in California are a raffle is considered gambling. So you have to be sure you read the terms for any, if you're using
Fine print.
I'm sorry.
I said read the fine print of every.
Yeah.
If you are using a fundraising platform, make sure you read that fine print and see, and be strategic with the way you're wording things, or provide the paperwork to the fundraising platform that they may require that demonstrates, hey, we have a permit to do this.
Okay. So is this the poker run like ride thing? Is that like part of SoCal Burn Ride as well? Like is it something?
Yeah, the SoCal Burn. Yeah, so we like the event is a poker run.
Okay.
So we usually start at a certain location and you'll get your flop, you get your first 3
That's
cards.
so much fun.
And then it's not written on a card, then we sign it and then they go to the next stop. So sometimes it's the rock store, sometimes
Yeah.
you know, different locations. We've also partnered with a lot of the fire departments, the local fire departments. So we've had a lot of cool like just spots that people come to. The Ventura County Fire
Yeah.
Department number 56 is
Yeah.
right on the PCH. It's very scenic. It's gorgeous, and we've had the pleasure of having a stop there, and they're very kind to us, and they know that where the proceeds are going, so they're very kind. But it just so knowing the venue. So obviously the venue is the biggest thing. Date is the biggest thing. You don't want to be competing with other events, and then really just gaining that community support and the momentum. So making connections with vendors, people that are, you start to know when you start to go to more of these biker events, who's local and who does the vending, and who you can kind of get their card and kind of because they're looking to be at events, and you need them to be at the event to make it a better event. You want to definitely serve food, and
So important.
obviously, yeah, bikers get hungry.
Exactly, very. And
Yeah.
what's that one quote where it says like the way into someone's soul or something through their stomach or
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely 100% true with me. So
Right. And about how long is this like mile radius is like the whole poker run?
So originally,
Oh,
their
shoot.
first 2 rides were a lot longer.
They were pretty long.
They were
yeah.
pretty long, and we got a little bit of feedback. Like the routes are beautiful, they're great, but it's a little bit long. It's a full day, and
Yeah.
we don't have that much time to give. So we kind of cut back and shortened it a little bit. I mean, Trevor, the co-founder, he's got really big visions for the SoCal Burn Ride, and we love it, and we love him for it. And hopefully, we can start having more and up the coast and spread throughout the country, and kind of like where each state would have their own and different routes in different places. So we're trying to like say, like, how can you scale something like this? So we don't want it to be so specific to Southern California, like it has to include the PCH, because that prevents it from growing. So it really is just a matter of hitting the touch points in the local community that people enjoy riding, but not making it, this grand whole day event. And we're not trying to compete with Roland Sands Moto Classic. Like that's an all day event. That's awesome. We're probably not going to have the Foo Fighters anytime soon, but I mean, unless they're willing, unless they want to come out, that'd be great. So yeah, so we want to keep it. What was it, like 60 miles, or was it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was gonna say like the one year where we had we gave like multiple we went out, we figured out some routes for at different distances. So as I mentioned earlier, like there are roads through the Santa Monica Mountains that are better for beginner riders. There are roads that are better for like that are great for more advanced riders who love the twisties, right? So a few years ago, what we did was we gave people the option, like we went out and figured out multiple routes, and then like on your card that you got with for your poker hand, on the backside was a map, with all the directions, and we had, I think, what's like 5 different routes.
Yeah, and we also you could do the GPS. Like you could also just click on the links, and then it would route you through it, so that you didn't have to keep looking at your tank or wherever you put the piece of paper.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Safety.
Yeah. So I mean, as far as like distance, look, we've got, we could give you a route that's going to be a quick turn and burn, like 35 miles. Like you go out back, short run, you can go back to get to the food real quick. And then
Get back
like,
to the food faster.
if you're more like Trevor, who Trevor could, I mean, Trevor could iron, but, and he'd be like, next,
Next.
like,
Right,
so,
right. What's next?
like, so if you're more like Trevor, I mean, we've got route like that's a little bit longer and is gonna take you through
And I think,
up the
I think
coast.
the longest one was 65 or
No,
something
it's
like that.
60,
Yeah.
65 miles
Yeah.
was our longest one. Shortest one I think was like 30, 35. So
Not bad. Yeah, 60. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where a lot of people on like sport bikes complain more about the longer rides. But I'm like, every time they say that, I'm like, dude, I've ridden 15 hours straight on my
Yeah.
R6 back in the day, all the way up NorCal. Granted, I took like 2 breaks, but it's possible when you really are into something, and especially if it's for a great cause, and it sounds like a poker run sounds like so much fun. I've never done one, so I would really love to join one of these, join you guys one of these days.
Well, oh, if you're a beginner, so now she's got to have beginner's luck. She'll probably win.
Oh, yeah, that happens. That happens a lot.
That happens a lot. They're like, oh, I've
That's
never done this
perfect.
before. Oh my
I
God.
could use that for sure. All right. So what is one piece of advice that you want to give to anybody in your industry?
So you know what I'll say is if you are doing, if you are doing an event, uh, a poker run or whichever, a ride, you're gonna need, don't shortchange yourself on manpower. You're gonna need more people
Team,
than you
right.
think, and have some people who like just extra hands beyond, like you sit down and map out, hey, like all the different roles that your volunteers are gonna need to fill. Like, don't be afraid to have a couple extra, because invariably something's gonna have, someone's gonna need to drop what they're doing and run and handle a problem, and you don't want that to like take away from the experience of the people who've, they've taken time out of their schedule, they've taken a day to come support your cause. You don't want for their experience to suffer because you were shorthanded. So that's probably my biggest piece of advice. Don't shortchange yourself on manpower. You're gonna need more people than you think.
And that's the problem, is when all of your friends ride, you're kind of like,
Yeah.
they're all like,
Wanna
hey, can we
join,
help?
right.
What'd you
Yeah.
say?
No, I was saying they just want to join and be part of it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like, how can we help? And we're like, well, we want you to go
Go on the
ride.
ride. You feel
Yeah.
a little bit
We
guilty.
want-
We're
yeah.
cheating you out of a ride day almost,
Exactly.
but
So
yeah. Fortunately, I think we all know in our community though, like the biker community, I think I don't even think
Very
I think
helpful.
it's just well established as the most charitable
most.
community in the country. So
Absolutely.
I mean, I think people are okay with like are absolutely okay with giving up a day of riding in order to volunteer and help out with a good cause. I mean, we've been very blessed every year. It's always astounding and heartwarming and overwhelming just to see how willing people are. Like, what do you need? Like we have had instances where friends of ours, they were there for the ride and they dropped what they were doing and were like, hey, I'm just gonna help you out.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna help you out with
They
this.
see how
Yeah.
much work
Yeah.
goes into it.
And-
we would see
yeah.
people rolling in and we're like, oh, you're late. And they're like, oh, I was directing traffic for the
Yeah.
past 2 hours
And
to
we'll
make
be
sure
like,
people
yeah,
were
and we'll
coming
be
in.
like,
We're
oh, well,
thank you.
yeah, you don't get to ride. Okay, well, we'll give you your money back since you don't get to be in the ride. And they're like, take it,
Yeah,
keep
they're like,
it,
it's a
my pleasure.
donation. Yeah.
And that is like 100% indicative and characteristic of the biker community, the
Big
community that
hearts,
we all
big
get to be a
hearts.
part of. And so I kind of want to recognize that a little bit.
The bigger the bike, the bigger the heart. Everybody
Yeah.
that comes out
I
of
like
the
that.
giant
The bigger
bag.
the bigger the heart. Yeah, the
Yeah.
camaraderie honestly is really like the greatest gift of it being part of this community, right? Like I've met some of the best people in the world and they also ride motorcycles as well.
It's
So,
such a great community.
so
It
yeah.
really is. And one of the things I love about the SoCal Burn Ride, you just hit the nail on the head. You go to a lot of these rides and you notice that a lot of the bikes are all the same. Like this particular ride is all this type of bike. This particular ride, all Harley-Davidsons. This particular ride, all. And I love that at the SoCal Burn Ride, it's all different bikes. All different
Love
bikes.
that
We
too.
say all bikes welcome, and it really works. Like we have what's called a ride and repeat instead of a step and repeat. So you ride your bike up and we take a picture with the backdrop and everything. And we scroll through these photos, these, like we get about like 300 between 150 and 300 bikes. And you're scrolling through these photos and every
Variety.
bike is different. Every
Right.
bike is different. I mean, there's a lot of baggers, but that's not all.
Yeah.
There's plenty of other sport bikes and Triumphs and like, custom bikes. It's everything. So I love the mix. I love the mix of people. There's so many women come out. It's just a mix of everything, and every age demographic. It's so great. Families come.
Yep.
We have a father-son combo that have come to every event. So it's great to see the pictures of like, now first the kid was a little kid. And I
Yeah.
mean, at this point, maybe he's got his own bike now.
Yeah.
Like, so it's really great to see the growth in the community and just everybody just feeling welcome. And that's what we wanted. We
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that everybody felt welcome, and we're seeing that. So we really appreciate that. And we hope more people keep coming out.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, well, and I would love to help in whatever way I can as well. You two seem like such awesome individuals, and I'm really glad I got to talk to you today. So thank you again for taking the time to sit with me.
Guys, thank you, and thank Russ Brown for allowing us this opportunity. Russ Brown supported us as well, and we're incredibly grateful for it. Kim mentioned the ride and repeat that we've got. We were fortunate enough a few years ago that Russ Brown, like
They were
we-
like, what do you need?
what do you
They
need?
were-
And
they
we're
were
like- and
great.
we were like, heck, can we really ask him
Yeah.
for this? Like we don't know. And Sean over there, we put it was kind of like, we
Yeah.
don't know if he's gonna say yes to this. And they said yes and they supported us. So everything that Russ Brown has done for us, absolutely incredible. We can't say thank you enough. So beyond just this opportunity to talk more about the ride and get our name out there a little more, the way you and Russ Brown have supported us in the past, absolutely grateful. Thank you so much.
Really invaluable. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution. You two do so much for the community, and we all really appreciate that.